Well, hello everyone, hello. The SQ-1 is back for more. Last time you saw it was my first time using it. I was having a little bit of difficulty because it wasn't tracking the way I wanted it to with the clock from the QCD. The SQ-1 would advance 2 steps for every 1 clock pulse. And I thought, because that's a 50% duty cycle, half the time on, half the time off, and this was firing, and I thought this was interpreting the gate off as a clock signal, but then I fed it a proper trigger, a short trigger from the little nerd, and it did the same thing. It's like, well, it's multiplying the clock by 2. I don't really want it to do that, but there's ways to work around it. The one disadvantage was that because it was multiplying the sync input, you could not send it an irregular clock. It would go haywire. It had to receive a steady tempo, which that seemed like a drawback. And the manual said that, you can enter global settings mode by holding the play button down as you power it up. And these 3 symbols here on this rotary dial would correspond to quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes. I tried messing with that. It didn't seem accurate. And this row of lights lights up to show you that you are changing that setting. And I turned it past those 3 glyphs into this territory up here that the manual didn't even mention, and I got different combinations of lights. So I have no idea what these settings are supposed to be, but I stumbled upon one that actually works. Now it advances 1 step per pulse, and I can even feed it an irregular clock because I sent it one of the grids, the accent channel, and it was tracking that. So there you go. I got it working the way I want, but I don't really know how I did it. But, fingers crossed, knock on wood, and don't complain. Was my motto. Anyway, what's happening with this patch? I've got grids running, and let's see, hat is as usual channel 3, and then for channel 2 I have plats in snare drum mode, which I don't know, it always feels like a waste because plats is so powerful, it's capable of doing so much, it feels like a waste to use it as a drum module. But excuse me, that's what I'm doing this time. And then for my bass drum for channel 1, I am using the sub output of the DCO, which is receiving pitch information from the SQ-1. And then because the DCO is receiving pitch information from SQ-1, I'm also using the wave output as sort of like a chord. And that's being triggered by a Euclidean pattern and a random gate combined in the triple XOR, my usual technique. And then I have the E950 on a, I think, well, I can't trace the wires now, but it's one of these odd divisions from the Divide and Conquer. That might be a 5. I think that's 5. And all that percussion is running through VCAs, or some of it's going through streams with the level modulation coming from couple of different envelopes to control the dynamics. Put some accents in there, make it a little more lively. And as far as pitch, I've got not only the SQ-1, but also the Arturia key step. Voltage from the key step I'm sending through a buffered mult. One copy of that is going directly to the E950, and the other copy is going into the precision adder where it is combined with the voltage from the SQ-1, so I can change chords. So yeah, all of this to recreate the feel of one of those cheesy early 1980s automatic accompaniment chord organ. And I have a fill here where if I press this button, it ducks the volume of the other channels. It reduces the activity of 2 grids channels and gives me a snare drum break. Whoa, how about that? All of this was very deliberate because I am planning to make an instrumental that incorporates some acoustic tenor guitar along with the modular system. I attempted this earlier and it turned out pretty well, but that was kind of an accident. This time I'm going to try to do it deliberately, which means I'll probably completely blow it. But I'm kind of pleased with the way this has turned out so far. I think this is just about the first time that I have sat down at the console with a really clear plan in mind and subjugated this equipment to my will, as opposed to my usual procedure, which is I sit down and start patching wires and see what happens. Well, this time I had a plan. So there you go. I hope you found it interesting, enlightening, and entertaining. I have to mention my Bandcamp, of course. There's music there that I think is pretty good, including that previous instrumental I mentioned. I also have a Patreon where generous people gave me money so I could afford to get all of this cool stuff. Thanks a lot to my patrons. And I think that's all, so I'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot for watching.